You win. You're first. Ooh, I just sprayed some of that stinky spray, so whew. I sprayed it outside, but it still lingers. Hi, CB. Let everybody get in, and then I'll show you kind of what I got, what I've been up to this week. Hi, Vicky. I'll show you those books I got, and I figure I might just mess with alcohol inks today. Hi, Kim. Like I said, I'll let everybody get in. I did get the gray ink, so I want to kind of try that. It's shadow gray. I thought that was cool. Hi, Dot. Since Bob's not here, I want to open this door. I sprayed my little container so I can really touch it and you can sort of see it. I gave it 2 coats of just the crystal clear. And I gave it a coat on the outside, a coat on the inside, and then a coat on the outside. And then I just gave it a little bit around the edges again, because I am going to put brushes in it. It did, it's a little less detail here in this back. It's more bled here. I don't know if that's from me spraying it. I think it did move a little when I sprayed it, to be honest. I may have been too liquid, too close, but I don't care. I mean, I like the pottery look. I like it's just the blues and the greens. Yeah, I think it did bleed a little. I probably should have been back a little farther, but I think it's pretty. When it dries, I'm going to put all my watercolor brushes in there, and it'll be just something pretty in the art room. I got, well, this is what Vaughn sent me. Vaughn sent me all her Inktense blocks. They're not in the original house, so I ordered, I really looked around a lot to decide what to do. I ordered 2, I'll show you on, hi Eileen. I ordered 2 palettes like this that have the trays. There's 18, I think, or I don't know. I know it's enough to get. I got 2 because to make it be enough. Oh, there's 36. So 36 and 36 was 72. So, but I was going to use just like a plastic, like, you know, the fishing tackle with the dividers. Hi, Shauna. Yes, Shauna, I knew she sent me a message. But that way I can break it and put like a couple pieces in it, and then I can store the others in like plastic baggies so they're not touching each other, because I want to use them with the watercolor brush. I think I have them all matched up correctly, but I'm not positive until I do some swatching, but I'm pretty sure I've matched them up pretty close to, but I'm going to wait till I get the palettes to mess with it. because what I'll end up doing is I'll just, you know, like making sure that this one and the one I have next to it are the same. Which those two are. So, and then I'll swatch it so that I can make a swatch for each box. She's got them numbered, but it's hard to read some of the numbers because they've gotten ink on each other. So they'll have a permanent home. And then I'll, like I said, I will use them with the brush. I have the pencils, but you can't cover a lot of space, but I can use them with the brush and do washes. Then I did order this stencil. And it came with a text stencil, which I like. And it came with this little stencil, which is cute. But this is the one I wanted. And I went ahead and got the smaller one because I think I'll use it more. I didn't see the bigger one, but I went ahead and got the smaller one. I ordered the books, which we'll get to in a minute. But I also ordered a set of the markers. I had not ordered the markers when all of you guys ordered the markers because the way I work, what I was doing, you need it permanent. But these can work with the alcohol inks on the Yupo. And we'll try some of those today and kind of do that. I ordered the Pigments of Your Imagination book, and you can see I have tabbed it out because some it was projects to do, but other it was just like techniques like to remember to use a toothbrush. I'll show you what I tabbed because Kathy has done a really good preview of this book. It is a second edition. Kathy Taylor is the main author, but it does show artwork from different artists. But I'll do the markers are an off-brand. They weren't the Hoo-Hoo or they were just the best, look like the best deal. Zongii, Zongii, 48 dual tip, and I paid $13.50. Because I don't think it's something I would use a lot, but if I wanted a lighter color or something, that would be a possibility. Hi, Chai. Hi, Norma. Let's see who's. Hey, Tara. Long time no see. Happy New Year. I see you on Instagram and Twitter. Hi, Mindy. What are you jelly of, Shauna? The little stencil? Oh, make the inks or. Hi, Kathy Berg. Make sure I didn't really miss anybody. Yeah, I think so too, Eileen. Yeah, but for what I'm going to use them for, CB, I'm not looking to really color with them nice and neat. I just wanted to play. Oh, the stencil. But it wasn't very much, Shauna. I got it at Simon Says. This one. I got it at Simon Says. It was $4.99 plus shipping. It was under $10. You got some glassine paper? I ended up getting the translucent Yupo, which I'll show you is very much like that vellum that Kathy sent me. And CB asked about the weight of the vellum. I don't know. Kathy Arbor sent that to me. And I want to say she said 50. Hi, Kimberly. But so here's the book. It's on a wire bound, so it's easy to look at the projects. She's got great pictures of different things. She talks about how she got into alcohol inks. She talks about finding your muse, tools to use, and she breaks it down into categories, which is really good. She even has like a color chart for the Pinata and the Ranger inks. And I know that one of the things that I've heard of when I was watching binging some YouTube videos is the darker the ink, the more versatility. If you get the really light color inks, then you don't have the versatility. But I do like the light, the really soft. And this is a Copic chart and Copic chart and a Spectrum Noir, because Spectrum Noir could be used for this. I just, like I said, got inexpensive. So she just starts out with using a sponge and drops. She has step outs. She's blowing with the straw. She's also using one of the little things like the rubber things that you can blow air with. Shauna, you're not talking to me about a tracking number, right? Hi, Julie. And then she's showing how when she's using that little tool to blow the air. I think I'm probably going to want to get something that blows air. This is not a Timmy blower. This is a round bulb like you sometimes use on. It's not a Timmy blower. The Timmy blower, you put a marker. It's very similar to it, but it's not the Ranger blower. Then she's talking about just using drips, like just work. And I really liked, I tabbed this one because I liked how she had the really bright color and then the other color, like the warm color in the back and then the cool color in the drip. So I tabbed that one for that, to remember that kind of idea to work. And I might try something like that today. You know, she took it really far. I don't think I would take it as far as she did. I want more light to show through. Then she was showing like it was more for drips and stuff and getting really thin lines, using craft foam. I didn't really care for the texture of that. Yeah, I do love the book. But you could make grasses with like the side. I think you could use a credit card room. Using a straw to create passage. I like some of this lineage. I like some of the work with the definite lines in it. But I didn't tab that because using a straw is not like a new idea to any of us. But this is using the toothbrush with the alcohol in it. And I liked that. And I tabbed it just to kind of remember, wait a minute, you have an old toothbrush. Use that with just some of the alcohol. So I tabbed that just as a reminder. This was using a credit card, getting kind of more of a painterly look. The idea of using hand sanitizer. In fact, let me get the hand sanitizer out and we'll try some of that today. And I like some of the technique that she could get with that. Hi, Orla. Yeah, I like the scraping with the credit card. And she does show some step outs. I really liked this one. And she also used masking fluid somewhere. But this was the idea that a lot of times she'll put the inks on and then put a piece of Bristol paper and blot. I have not seen Kathy Arbor yet, but she could be here. But so this is where, here's the original piece, and then there's the background piece. And I really like this one, how it got developed. I'm not sure how she got the birch trees on there because she doesn't show, she's not working through this finished piece, but she's showing how she puts a lot of inks and then she uses the Bristol on top. But you could take a brush and get back down to the white if you took a brush with alcohol ink and paint it. She also did talk about using like a Posca pen, something thin. Possibly there might be some finer tip blending pens that you could get a really thin line. This is using a foam brush, and I really liked this finished piece. And I like these turns that she got just using a foam brush. I think you could also get a similar look using like this, like a catalyst style. This is a Finnabar or Art Basic. I think that's Finnabar. Yeah, this is a Finnabar one that I got at Hobby Lobby. I know some people have some from Tim Holtz. But just using one of those and turning it is interesting. And I like that kind of. I don't have foam brushes because I don't ever use them. The book, Orla, is called Pigments of Your Imagination. And it's about using alcohol ink. I liked how she used wax paper. I have wax paper here. Somewhere. If I look hard enough, I will find the wax paper. I'll look in a minute. Somewhere in here. Well, you know what? I know I have wax paper from a project that's left over. We just need a piece. I may need to get another box. But I like this idea that she created like an accordion fold. So the wax paper is not touching the paper everywhere. So that is really kind of what I liked about. And she got this really neat effect, but it's not touching. And then there's a stencil involved also in some of this. Now, when you do the ink through the stencils, you do have to let it sit. Yes, I ordered a used copy. CB. It was out of stock. I ordered a used copy on Amazon that had free shipping and it said used like new. I do that a lot on Amazon. If it's free shipping and I'm not going to pay a lot more. I think I kind of feel like this might have been used in a class. It feels to me, it's a second edition that's revised and expanded. It feels to me almost textbook-like it might have been used. You also can get it online. I want to say half-price books, like where their textbooks are. I want to say it was listed in there too when I did a search. This was a she did the stencil and then she took the stencil that had a bunch of the ink on it and put Bristol paper on top of it to not waste the ink. And I liked that. You know, it was like she just put a dirty stencil on the paper. This was shaving cream, and the only reason I kind of was interested in it is she put a mask down and then did it. but I don't have shaving cream. I don't think it's something I would mess with. And then she took the dirty stencil and laid it on a piece of clean paper and just kind of squeegeed across and got some really light. And I liked that. But I don't think I would mess with the shaving cream. I don't think it's my thing. This was using like a gel like we did through a stencil and letting it dry and then adding the ink. I would say a gloss gel would be better than one that has, like, I don't think I'd use modeling paste. I would want one that had that gloss. No, I have never gotten a bad used like new, used very good. I have never gotten a bad book. The download for free, you have to join something, and I didn't want to do it. So this is, again, using stencil. This is tar gel. I don't have tar gel, but it's shown up in a couple other things, so it might be something I would get. It looks like it was piped, though, but it wasn't. And she did the tar gel, and then she let it dry. This was using using clear contact paper to create a mask, and then you do a bunch of work, and then you lift it off. And I guess it comes off the Yupo. Plastic stuck on laminate is a great tool because it's plastic on a plastic. You can get it off. And then she said she saves the mask that have the ink on top of them, and she uses them somewhere else. She also used contact paper to make sort of like stencil shapes, which I have some of that somewhere, but I don't know where right now. This was using the contact paper and then like wiping back, which I like that idea, and then removing the contact paper. This was working on black. This was black chalkboard contact paper. And then she used the white inks with the color. But you would have to use the white. And I'd never considered chalkboard contact paper. I've never bought any or looked at it. This was masking fluid, and I like this. And I thought we might try something. We don't have anything to lose because we're trying to use up the masking fluid in the fine liner bottle. So we can try something with that. So she did the trees. It was very similar to the Fast and Fun watercolor. Hi, Kim. Yeah, I do like the polar bears. I'm not sure I would do the contact mask. I'm just afraid of getting that up. And this was just using a gel and like, it was giving it kind of like an impasto look where you would take something like a gloss heavy gel and you'd put it on the Yupo and let it dry, and then you'd come in, but you'd get those painterly marks. You'd leave that, and you could even put a piece on the piece to get some texture, but that you would get the texture. This was plastic wrap, using plastic wrap on the flat surface to get that effect. Gauze is another one. I liked the idea here of using the plastic wrap in just an area to create water or to create a log. And she's created a log and then come back in with mist of rubbing alcohol and a brush and those kinds of things to add more detail. This was a garbage bag, which is pretty much the same as the saran wrap. The idea of something about place alcohol ink on a painting done on. Oh, the idea. What, Bob? This is you put the alcohol ink down and then you take a stencil and mist it and then like remove some of it. And what's under the stencil would be dark and what's rubbed off would be light. And then she is blotting again with the Bristol paper so that she gets double the image. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Josie. This was using a wash, just the idea that you would put some ink on like a damp paper towel or a baby wipe and that you would actually wash with it and do a wash. And I liked that for a landscape idea. And then she walks through how she worked her way down to do the landscape. You know, she did the wash. She came in and did some clouds. Then she did her layers of her mountains. Then she came in and did her foliage. And some of this is brushwork. And I like some of the landscape art. Seascape. And then this is more of that same kind of thing. And then some of it, like you're coming in, just this idea that you're working your way kind of down the page. This was more work. This is a little darker work. It's a little more brown oriented. This was coming back and doing Sharpie work after you'd done a background. And it was okay. You know, it's not mine. This blew my mind. This right here, this piece looks like watercolor to me. But what she did was, the person who did this, is she put masking fluid. Well, she chose other flowers. These are easier flowers. Those are like flowers with hair guns and straws. To do this work, she transferred her drawing on Yupo. Then she put masking fluid over the entire flower. She did her background. She let the background dry, got it the way she wanted. She removed all the masking fluid, and then she literally painted with the alcohol inks in layers like you would with watercolor, which I think would be a struggle as a newbie. This is a similar thing. She masked out the flowers and the butterfly. She did her background. Then she added in the flowers by just dropping bits of ink and on a brush and getting like a little bubbly. And then she painted in the yellow and then the details in black. And then finally a white, like a gel pen or something. This was a duck's. This was more abstract. And again, masking fluid. This was used getting like a batik look with wax paper, which was okay. Getting kind of fabric looks. This was the idea of like putting dots and layering, then pulling with a credit card to get some blends and get back down to the original paper. This is kind of the shaving cream again, which, like I said, I didn't really care for. It's also really messy. Some of this is on fabric. This is a tie-dyed effect, which, again, I don't care for. I did like this idea. it was adding like gesso, like Shauna does with her watercolor. It was adding some kind of pattern with gesso and then adding the inks on top. Hi, Linda. You can create an acrylic skin. You just put your gel medium out on something that you can peel it off. Old page protectors from scrapbooking can work very well for that. It's got to be something where you can really get it to peel off. You have to be careful. You can also use like a craft mat, like a silicone baking mat. Hi, Joan. Hi, Joycey. This is using foil or aluminum cans, doing a pattern. I think this is kind of what you did at the art retreat a little bit with Gail and them, Kathy and Gail. Paper plates. Oh, just a second. I have to tell Bob something. Paper plates and cat treats. You gonna get the card? Yeah. You know where it's at, right? All right, Bob is going. This was a tile. This was just working on a tile and then sealing it with something like Krylon crystal. This was an embossed tile. They were using embossing ink. Using embossing ink to make it look like stained glass. And I'm assuming you could use your embossing ink first to create channels. Yeah, that's what she's doing here. Is she put the embossing ink down and then she filled it with the ink. I think you could also use that faux leading. That's what she's using here, is the faux leading. I liked the idea of doing some collage and then putting the inks over. I like that idea a lot. So I might work on something like that today and just build something interesting as a background and then put a focal point on it down the road. And this was using water and then dropping the inks, kind of like the Turkish people do. Oh, one of Dee Dee's catch-up videos? Yeah. You know, you can record a video and then set it to play with live chat, and you can be in the live chat with your audience and talk to them while the video is playing. But I don't know if I would want to do that. You know, that's maybe if the video, yeah, a premiere. Maybe if the video didn't have talking and it had like words written over and you edit it, but you would just be in the chat. You wouldn't be talking out loud. So, but you could be adding comments and participating more fully in the chat. And you would art it, but it wouldn't be live arting. The art would already be done, or the video would already be done. This is the idea that if you put one print on top of another print, you can get a mono print. Using white ink on a black canvas. Now, they did talk about if you're using a canvas, that to put a coat of acrylic paint will help, because sometimes the alcohol inks don't like the gesso that they use on the finish. So I did like the idea of maybe doing a black canvas and then doing something on it, or just putting white paint on a canvas. That might be interesting. And then there's just a gallery of pictures of different things that different artists have done. And I don't have a lot of tabs back there. So that's that book. It's called Pigments of Your Imagination. The other one I got is the one that Colleen showed us, Dynamic Watercolors. And I'll just show, she has shown this book, so I'm just going to show you some of the tabs that I tabbed. I liked the idea of doing a piece of map and putting the clear gesso or the watercolor ground that's clear, and then doing a piece on top of the map. I really like that idea. Like this was a fish, but like maybe doing a coastal and a lighthouse or a crab. But I really like that idea since I use a lot of maps in my work. I ordered the crackle paste. I ordered 2. I ordered the Deco Art one, the crackle glaze. And I ordered, does the author's address, fixative issues. What fixative issues? For doing a map, you're using the clear ground. So, Vicki, I'm not sure what you're talking about. Are you talking about this? I'm waiting for Vicki to answer me so that I can answer her. Oh, you're back to the alcohol inks. No, the author, in what I saw, I didn't see it. And the smells. So I think that can be overwhelming. You lost me all the way. Okay, they're refreshing. I'm good. My chat's moving. I'm still seeing a live picture. So I am good. Nothing happened on my screen at all. Okay. So the map one, we don't have a question. That, I really love this idea. Crackle paste, I ordered 2 kinds. I ordered a more traditional crackle paste, and I ordered the Deco Art crackle glaze. I don't know about using the crackle, regular traditional crackle glaze with watercolor, because usually you put on the stuff and it's the next layer of paint that makes it crackle. So I need to read in here more, but I like the idea on some of the watercolor of the crackle. Modeling paste. I don't know why I marked it. Oh, modeling paste through a stencil, but we all know that. Plastic wrap on the modeling paste or tissue paper to get a texture. And then I liked that idea that you would cover the paper. I did not order Goldens. I ordered the Deco Media line, and I ordered a different one. I ordered 2. Let me tell you what I ordered. They'll be here tomorrow. I did not order Goldens. Distress. Rangers Distress. That's what I ordered. The Distress Crackle Paint, because I figured that's pretty much, yes, CB, that's what I saw, that the Deco Art one was to go on top of the watercolor, like you already have the watercolor. This one I figured would work because it's to use with distress markers, paints. So not necessarily the acrylics, since most of his products. So I thought I'd try that. Yeah, I got the Rangers one. But I did like the idea of putting gesso, probably more than modeling paste, and then putting tissue or saran wrap and letting it get dry with that texture, because I like that idea of having that background in some work. Not necessarily what they did. They used a stamp and put like leaves. I don't know that I would do that. Like an imprint. I want to try some granulation medium, so I marked that. I haven't ordered any yet, but I like the idea of the granulation medium. And I don't have that, so I thought that was something interesting. This was using the saran wrap to do a background, which might be cool to do a background something of this nature, and then maybe do a bunny separate and put a bunny on top. But they show some examples. And the salt, like I didn't bookmark the salt because we all do that, but maybe put a mask down and then the saran wrap. And that's not something I think I would do all the time. This is the one that Colleen did that was starting to do like contouring. I like the idea that you might do like an emboss something and then watercolor, like not just the gold leaf, but this was like, I thought about using this. This is not the one. The Tulip brand is the one I like. This one I didn't really care for, but this is like an opaque gloss enamel, like a writer. But it's a little thin, in my opinion. But I have a black. I thought about the idea that you could use like a slick writer, let it dry, and then come back and do watercolor. So I thought that was kind of interesting, almost like you could do what Colleen was doing, something abstract flowers, and then come back in and just do washes. And then maybe even add some of the gilting or some of the paste, some of the metallic. Some of these were pearlescence. This was an impasto. If I were going to do this, I might as well just use regular paint. But it's something like Shauna might like, because she could get that type of painterly feel, but still using her watercolors. This was bronzing powder, which made me think about trying the iridescent medium with magicals in it and using that to get that a similar effect on a watercolor. Though I would probably do it at the end stage. Hi, Jean. Let me scroll back, see if I missed anything. Okay. So, like I said, if I did that, the iridescent medium with the magicals, it would be more at an end stage. Some of this was just gilting, just different things to gilt. That stuff that Eileen was using from Finnabar, the mica powders. But again, I think I would use it at the end stage. Kind of like in Fast and Fun watercolor, we added some of that at the very end, those metallics. This was using stencils, which we've done. I kind of like the idea of using the stencil to paint through, just like holding it down and just painting through it with a brush. Using gauze or thread. see here, she's got that rough background. And then she's coming in and painting the trees over it in the detailed foliage. And she's using 32. She's using some kind of fine tip product through a tube to add some details. That's pearlescent, and I think that's where some of this is coming from. She does give a supply list in the front of the projects. She does have a lot of step outs. Like this project right here is 32 step outs. If you want it to work a specific project. And then there's some themes. The idea that if you did something in one color, and it's more abstract, that if you did something in like blues and purples, and then you do the same thing in red and orange. Creating texture, focal points, pattern and color. And again, it is more abstract, but it was more, to me, I liked it more for some of the mediums, not necessarily specific projects. But again, I tabbed it so to help me remember to think about those things when I start working on a project. And then I fixed some other of the alcohol inks. Like on this one, I had some that were dark. So I worked on lightening because I find that they get muddy. Like this is one that needs to be fixed. Well, I've already started fixing it. I've already started removing some of the layers. That's why it's very muddy. But all of these were like that, and they were just too dark, where the dark colors just took over. So I worked on lightening them, and then I was able to add the foil, because this was done before I had the foil. So I'm just trying to work more on finessing the techniques so that I can get a little more control. This was another one, the same thing. These were probably the same, some of the same paper that was just too dark, with the purple just took over. So kind of learning how to lighten and get some of the lighter colors. So I ordered Yupo, and I ordered larger Yupo this time. This is Yupo medium. It is 11 by 14. Now, I don't plan on the finished piece being this full size probably, but I like the working it. Does that help it? I like the idea of working it and then cutting it. I also ordered by accident the translucent Yupo, which to me looks like that vellum that we were working with. This looks a lot like the weight. Now, I will tell you, when I came back to the vellum pieces from Kathy that we glued, this is definitely heavier than this. This is definitely heavier now that I feel both in my hands. But when I came back to this, the one we glued down, it had lifted along the top, and I had to re-glue it in one place. But then it didn't lift. Yeah, I'm going to cut them up. I'm going to work on them larger and then cut them in half is the plan. we're going to play with the markers a little bit. And what I'm going to start with is I saw something I liked on Instagram, and I wanted to try to kind of emulate what I'd seen and see if I could get the same kind of effect. So yellows and orange and hot pinks, and I'm going to get out the hot pink ink, the yellow, the orange, and then I'm going to get out the gray and they used gold. That's a green gold. I think I'm going to use the copper. Okay, I did get the higher number alcohol to try also. All right, so the first thing I'm going to try is just taking the markers. I'm going to leave one of those in the side. Yeah, the foil will be similar to gold leaf, but this is a mixative. All right, and I'm just going to start putting some alcohol ink down. With the marker. All right, I want to take the darker yellow. Hi, Marianne, by the way. And I'm just kind of going in and next to and this is just a start. All right, and then I'm going to go to an orange color. Just try to keep sort of more random and, you know, like hi, Button. All right, now a brighter orange red. Yellow Pokemon. It will change. All right. And I'm going to go to a bright pink. I got 2 more colors of marker. I may just use all marker with the alcohol. Just to see what you could do if you didn't have the inks, what you could do. The markers are plenty like wet, considering they were inexpensive. Now, how long they'll last is potentially questionable. I think I'll actually go with the gray from the marker in a minute. Okay, this is a dark one. If I it's not that dark. Let me try. Can't see there's a whole lot of difference in some of these. Now they did have there are other size kits where you could get more. I just was trying to get, let's just be wild. I'm just kind of cover up some of the extra white space. Okay. 2 and 2. All right, let's go in. This says it's sky blue. It's kind of a lilac when it mixes and touches. And I can see it when it's touching some of these other inks, already starting to push. And I'm just coming into some of my wet spots. I'm going to flip this just so I... Let's see. This is a different gray. I'm going to try with it in a couple places. I want a dark gray. some of the lighter. And you pick up some of the color of the marker that you touch when you get this close. I liked that sky blue best for the light. I'm going in just trying to soften some of the darker gray that I used. With the soft blue gray before I all right, I think I'm ready to spray. So what I'm going to do is I have a Timmy Mister that has the 91% alcohol in it. So I'm going to lightly spray and let it do its thing. And let's see. Let's drop that translucent on there. Ooh, I think I'm gonna I'm chasing some of the bubbles around, which is blending some of the colors. Okay, so it's gonna be very light on here. That might need more added to it. So I'm gonna get the straw out. All right, so there's some of get some of the alcohol in a syringe. And I'm gonna now I will tell you I don't like right in here the pink. So I'm just gonna actually blot some of that out. And come back in and push. I need this yellow. To connect. Sorry. I want some of that dry and get some of that spotted texture back in there. And let that dry again. Okay. I'm going to put some of the ink in here. And then I'm going to put some drops of the shadow gray I don't know if I like that. Let's add some of the yellow in here. And let's add some orange in here. I'm going to use my brush just to sort of work that. I'm going to pick up some of that on the edge. We need more of the yellow in here. Kind of getting some pink back in there too. All right, I'm going to let that sort of dry and then spray it again. Like this needs that. Yeah. Now I could have done it all with the marker. I think the thing that I made it me not like the marker was putting the other piece on top. I'm not sure I like the dropping and the mono printing. Concept as much. I'm adding some alcohol so I can blend that. I'm going to add some yellow. I like that. I like the lights and the darks that you can achieve. All right, and I'm going to turn this. All right, I'm going to let that dry. That's a little brown down here. But I like this right in here. I think you get more depth with these than you do with the markers. But you could come back in with the markers when it's dry. Like if all you had was markers. You can get a very soft blendy color with the markers if you just flood the area with the alcohol ink. So I do think you could use your, because getting these soft enough can be difficult. I'm getting rid of some of those original marks from the spray. But I'm leaving them in some areas. To me, it's looking like, yeah, hi, Lena. I really like when you can get the marker really soft. So I have to say, I like, in hindsight, because I'm trying different techniques. This is okay. Like I'm liking how this is drying. But I don't like this smooshing so much. I don't like that smooshed blendy. I like more manipulating it with the brush and the drops. And I'm just pouncing some. I do like the paper towel. Or you could get the same thing with saran wrap. Like I could put some saran wrap in this area and let it sit for a few minutes. And get that, see how where it's drier? And get that crinkly effect. I think this needs some pink. In here. I'm also going to add some of that orange back in here too. Now let's put that down and let it sit for a few minutes. We can try adding some bits of foil. In places over here, because I can tell it's got that sticky texture. I'm starting to like see like when it will take the foil. I'm starting to learn, like I can tell by almost looking at it when it's tacky enough and when it might be too far gone. And I've also learned you can just put some blending medium or another color and get it to tack up. These are pretty well used. It's not quite ready over here. I'm going to turn this. I don't think I'm going to use any of this copper mixative. I don't like the copper mixative as well as I like the foil. Hi, Tammy. Glue the green down. I don't think so, Joycey. So that kind of gives you the idea of the texture. It's not dark enough for me. I love this. So I think I need to add more of this orange in here. A little alcohol just so I can get it to move. And, you know, there might have been some of that gray. That is giving me that dark color too. Oh, I'm going to kind of blend with the brush. Also, I think blowing from the side and blowing straight down really affects the patterns you can get. Okay, let's try. A piece of the, getting a piece of the darker foil. It's kind of like a bronze. I feel like over here it's ready for it. Oh yeah. And then I'm going to add the lighter gold. with it. Now, I like using the sheets that have been used to get a little bit of like variety where it hits. When you have those bare spots, you'll get a more organic feel. Okay, so I kind of think this side is done. I like the blend. This side has some runaway alcohol ink. I think I want to cut this real quick. So that I don't damage the side I like. Because I think this side is good. To me, it looks like clouds. Yeah, the markers did good, didn't they, Eileen? Easy to use. Again, I sprayed it with the mini mister, and if it would have, I could have gotten a different effect just flooding it versus. So let's take this piece that we want to work with, because we want this piece to be softer. And let's see, I want to add some more orange back in here. So I want to add an area of orange ink. I want some of the brighter yellow in here. But I do think I like this little bit of pink. Connecting here, maybe. And maybe there's some orange in here too. Okay, now let's decide That sky blue was a really pretty color when it they do get kind of dirty, so a paper to kind of clean them back if they're getting too polluted. There's a little of the yellow in here again. And I didn't get a purple, and I could get, there are purples I could get. There are lavenders I could get. All right, let's get rid of the drop inks and just go for real straight up marker. Because you have to admit, this is more affordable. I'm just dripping some ink in areas. The only thing I don't like about the one pink is I hate when the pink goes real neon. All right, and I'm gonna put this underneath it because I'm tending to blow. I did not bring in a hairdryer today. Let's put some of our saran wrap there. And there's ink on this saran wrap, so it's going to transfer some of the ink. With the creases, like it'll the cling wrap is giving me some really interesting texture. And I'll tell you, the metallic that I already put on there is getting the pink on top of it, which looks burgundy. This to me needs some dark purpley. Because I've got some purple going from the gray. Let me get some more ink and close up my bottle. The one thing I like about the mister is it's not as, it's easier to get a smaller amount. Now I do like the little dot air pattern too. Okay, I think that it needs some of that dark purple. I'm actually gonna see if I can get some of this foil to stick in some places over here, because there's some over there. Oh, that's good. That's right where I'm trying to go with some of this purple. I don't think the gold sticks to the markers well. So if you're interested in the gold foil, the foiling techniques, then the markers aren't gonna be as good a product for you necessarily. Let's add some. Orange. I might add some of the. All right, and then I'm going to mist that. And then I'm going to use my saran wrap. And put some ink over here that I can get on a brush. It's real soft here, but this is a little muddier. All right, and then what I'm going to do is put some of that alcohol on this Yupo. Kind of just tap some in and soften. Like I don't want to push it everywhere. I just want to soften the edges. Hi, Christine. All right. Hi, Jillian. I need to take a break from the blowing in the straw and the breathing the fumes. This is alcohol markers with 91% alcohol. And I'm using a straw to blow and move. A brush. This is just alcohol in a syringe where I can just not work from the bottle. You want to keep your bottle tapped. And this, yeah, this is just a piece of translucent UPO. And I do like that kind of idea of letting it run off and do its thing. You can get rid of those lines. All I have to do is add alcohol and use a brush or a straw, and I can diminish the line where the paper was. I mean, you can take the ink and really paint with it. The new drops will push off. This almost looks like jellyfish now, right? This is translucent UPO. So let me set this aside. I'll show you. When you get UPO paper, they have it in light, medium, and heavyweight. If you're going to use a lot of heat, then you need to use the heavyweight. This is translucent. It has the blue cover. It's translucent. It's like a very heavy vellum. Does this not kind of look like jellyfish? I'm sure we can probably use the markers to kind of on the fine tip edge. To kind of enhance that, right? There's alcohol up here. I want to. I used a lighter one. Now I'm going to use the darker. See, and I don't like this one. So I'm just taking I'm just going to spray over to the side. Just sort of getting rid of the one that I didn't like. I like the fact if you have ink on this from a darker color, that it's super easy to get a mark over a darker color. The straw came from Starbucks. It's a Starbucks straw. They sell sets of 3. It came from Starbucks. Okay, the syringe came from Amazon. Bob needed to put oil in some tiny little location, so he ordered these syringes with these tips. And when he was done, he didn't need all of them. He had to order like 10, so I took the extras. He needed to put oil in his bike or something in a really tight place. The straw is from, I got at Starbucks, and there was a package of 3. To go, they don't go in the tall cups. They go in the short cups. I always use these cups for water at school, and I was getting extra straws. And these were for the short cups. Yeah. I'm not sure if this one, what I want to do to this one. I'm going to leave it sit. I'm getting it very close to what I like. Maybe we'll give it a spritz and let it do that and call it done. So I'm going to set it aside to dry. I'm kind of liking this idea of, hi Beth, of the jellyfish. I clearly see one there. I think there could be one here. And I like using the mix of the colors. And the damp brush to like create a line. Okay, so I think I've got one that I can say is there. I'm gonna paint one in here. The brighter orange and red. All right, and then I'm gonna put some alcohol on the craft mat in my brush and just kind of soften. Get some pink in there. All right, and then I'm going to put another one right in here. I'm going to come in with some of the pink. Put more ink out. I'm going to blot in there. Put some more ink out to clean the brush and get some. I want some of this yellow back in there. And just sort of soften that back again with some clean alcohol. Yeah, they do not. The Pearl X and the Luminaire do not have binders. Okay, and then I'm going to come back in here. I got some yellow back in here. Okay, I want. a lighter color. Come in with a pink. Then I'm going to come to the tips of them with the brush and soften. I think it, yeah, binders adhere. And I'm using a kind of a combination of the tips and the brush. The pigments are for the most part the same that are used in most of the oil, acrylic, and watercolor. It's the binders they change. I'm just using the same markers. I like this background being dots, like the dots from the mister, like the ocean is that dotted texture. So I'm spraying some of that perimeter to get some of that texture. Yeah, some of these lids are hard to get off, Eileen. Oh, I got a marker open, not a lid. This is still wet. All right, I want to do the first one. I want to do the bottom one first and then travel across. Okay, now I'm ready to come across with some of those. Okay, now let's add some texture back over here where it's not as interesting. Like, I'm going to try something. I'm going to color on the craft mat. I'll put some alcohol ink down. Okay. Okay, I'm getting some of this on this saran wrap. So I can pounce some texture, color, almost like you would a sea sponge. With this saran wrap. I'm going to turn it inside out. And now I'm going to take the yellow in a different area. Add some ink. This is the other side, so there's shouldn't be a lot of pink. Okay, I'm going to call that one almost done. I'm almost done. I'm thinking I want it to dry. Speaking of dry, here's this one. We did the little spray. And I like the little dots in the big areas. I must not have missed it in that area, but that's okay. Or it didn't sit flat enough. Oh, I don't have any Copics. Let's see. I need a drink. Let's put markers up. I'm just sticking all the extra markers up. You do want to make sure your lids are on. Move that. All right, I'm thinking about adding some white Posca pen. I'm going to use one of my older Posca pens. I just want to add some white ones just sort of on the top. Okay, now I'm going to turn it. Okay. I think that helped it. bottom layer seems to help if I put a little line and blot it. Okay. Again, I'm going to put a line along the edge here and kind of tap it out and blot it. I'll do that up here too. All right, I think it's done. It may be too many in the center. And maybe it needs, you know, like I didn't plan the placement. I just worked with what I had. But it might lose some of the sides. Let's get a mat and I'll show you. Like it may not. Yes. I didn't try the hand sanitizer today. We'll try something on this here in a minute. But I think I think this will end up being pretty. See, it won't fit in a big mat. It'll end up being in a. This will end up being in a smaller mat. And again, it'll get cut. So I can decide, like, do I like down here? Do I, you know, like, I think it's got to have some of this dark and some of this light. I mean, I could even almost probably get two. To be honest, I could get two out of it probably. But I'll move around. I'll try to get as much out of the piece as possible when I cut, because this normally I cut a 9 by 12 in half. So this could almost get cut in two and be two, easily be two. In fact, we'll go ahead and we'll try that. This is $11. So 5.5 would be the that. And then if we cut this one, $5.5. That gives me four pieces. Like I said, by time this one looks good matted, just like that. You could also cut it and put it on a card. And this one I'll probably matte. These look like sunsets to me. These I would probably matte vertically like that. So I like making the big piece when I'm doing abstract and then cutting it up, because I think it's a little more organic. So I'll matte those. This will need to be trimmed. So I'll take a little off this side. And let's see. And that works. So that can be matted. And then I have these pieces that can be used, like this could be used on a card easily, or with punches. So I don't throw this stuff away, I save it. Let's try this one. I just don't like. So we cannot hurt it. So I'm just putting some alcohol ink out there. All right, then let's take the idea of no, that's not going to work. You know what we're going to do? It's too dark is the problem. Look at that paper towel, Joycey. I just need to lighten it. Back. Maybe we try I just grabbed a stencil because this is, so I'm just getting a baby wipe and I want to put alcohol, rubbing alcohol on it. I did put a little pattern. It's not real obvious because it was too wet maybe. But it's getting better. And it had some pattern on it. Very subtle. It's helping. That might be okay for a piece in collage or a piece to put something on top. It's hard to see can you see the stencil pattern slightly in places? This has, I think this has too much gunk on it. The foam brush might be better. And I don't know how you clean your brushes. I mean, I'm assuming maybe you do some rubbing alcohol, but I'm just doing water in the end stages. And designating certain brushes for ink. Pavla's channel is Pavla H. I haven't watched it yet. I need to watch it. I haven't had a chance. And I didn't try any of this today either. I think I almost need to do this ahead of time and then prep it and then do something because it has to dry. But I'm as inked out as I can be. I will tell you the markers is not as, you don't have to use, you can still use alcohol, but it's not as smelly as just using the straight up inks. So I did like the idea of using the markers. I did like the mini mister spray if you want this kind of texture. If you want the softer, more of the cloud-like look, then you want to just use the alcohol and the straw. Maybe a light, like a clean, damp cloth or something to blot with, or the saran wrap. The saran wrap will add some texture. I like the saran wrap texture. I like the ability to get the dark over the light without adding a bunch of ink and pushing it away. I like the marker, or putting the ink off to the side and in the brush and using that to just do some soft blends and get some ink where you want it. I think what I'll end up doing with this is putting something on top of it. So if it's 5 p.m. Central Time, that's 6 Eastern. So far, the only thing that I know of that's permanent in the sprays or any of that stuff is Lindy's Magicals. And I'm going to tell you nothing on Yupo. Oh, sorry, 4 p.m. Eastern. No, button. If it's 5 o'clock here, it's 6 o'clock on Eastern. It's later. No, it's 6 o'clock Eastern. If it's 5 o'clock here, it's later there. Earlier Eastern. No, they're ahead of us. Yeah, 6 here, 5 there. No, it's not. You're going backwards. Okay. Bob needs to be quiet. If it's 5 o'clock here, it is 6 o'clock. Bye, Vaughn. Thank you again. I'm going to organize the ink tints tomorrow, and then we'll use the ink tints in a project. $5 o'clock Central is 6 o'clock Eastern. Yes, Kathy. It will be 3 o'clock in California. I got my markers, my brushes in my thing. I sprayed it. I will tell you, for those of you who came in late, when I sprayed it, I sprayed a little close and got it too wet, and I lost some of my pattern, but I don't care. I like it. It's, I should have been more careful in spraying it. I just wanted to get it sprayed so I could start using it. There we go. Shauna's got all the time zones down in the U.S. I think 5 o'clock here is like 11 p.m. for Dottie. Am I right, Dot? Are you 6 hours ahead of Eastern? Now I'm going to really confuse people. For the UK people? All right, and I didn't use the wax paper. I'll use that on another day. There's only so much alcohol fumes that you can deal with. I think it's 6 hours ahead of Eastern. And you can sort of see how my little palette evaporated up. But that ink's still there and it can be used. All I'd have to do is just squirt a little rubbing alcohol into there and I could get those. We speak English. Oh, maybe it's 6 hours ahead of me in Central. Okay, so to the mods. There are a lot of Russian, Czech people that follow me on Instagram. They may not realize, so they may not be trolls. Does that make sense? Because I actually follow a lot of watercolor artists that are Russian. When do we paint? Paint what? I'm just letting y'all know, because they may not be trolls. They may be someone who saw me on Instagram or that follows me on Instagram. And it's because I followed a couple hashtags. Thanks, Jean. Like I said, I don't know. We'll have to just sort of tell them to speak English and then see. But I followed a couple hashtags, and that's where I started seeing a lot of Eastern European artists. On it's Watercolor Daily or something like that. So, but like I said, unless they whether they speak English or not, I don't know. They always write their Instagram posts in their language, and I have to translate it if I need to read it. Okay, so because Lena's 1 hour ahead of Dottie. Yeah, so I don't use any journals. Yeah, now if you use a translation and that, yeah, I don't, because like I said, I don't know what was said. I don't speak that language. I just know I follow a lot of people on Instagram, and I think it's Russian, but I'm not positive it's Russian. It looked Russian, didn't it? Maybe they're trying to convince us to vote for someone. They're out of luck. Yeah, Dottie's here, and then Lena's, where are my hands? Dottie's like here, and then Lena's just over. If you kind of, or here and over. It's one time zone. Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah. Who knows? I mean, I'm just telling you. Oh, I only get to do it on the weekends typically. Unless I'm arting when I'm off. But most nights I come home and we eat and I'm exhausted. You have to run from Dot because you're afraid of that copper stick. She could be telling you, why are you not in bed? No, she's always up late, so she can't tell anybody. So I don't know what to do with this one. I don't know if you keep working with it or you just plunk something down on it. Or you mail it to Joycey. This kind of looks like a Joycey paper, doesn't it? DM me on Twitter your address, Joycey, and I'll email it to you with some other papers and stuff that you can use. Okay? Like these, I just didn't like it, so I just punched some circles. Because I like the circles. But it's weird. Can you hear that? Yeah, it looks to me like Joycey too. So if you send me your address, I'm pretty sure too. I know I do you, Joycey. I'm Debbie Epps if you don't. And I'll send you some papers to add to your kits or whatever. To your because I know this seems to be Joycey colors. I'll look and see in my jelly printing magical box if I have anything else that like screams Joycey. Thanks, Eileen. I'm really glad I got the markers. I'm really, really glad I got the markers because to me, you could like, the first thing I did, you could be like doing that while you're watching TV. Let it dry, let it sit, and then come back in and do the alcohol ink later. In fact, I may do that while I'm watching. I may do some color combinations on the Yupo and then spray them and stuff later. So for 15 bucks, the markers were a good buy. And for what, you know, they don't last forever. I'm not using them to color in that sense. There's more variety. Like I could get more shades. Like I could have gotten a bigger box. I just didn't want to invest a whole lot. So I may end up getting another set that's bigger because I did like doing it that way and using it that way. Though I tried to pick one with, it's got a lot of grays and blue. There's not a lot of greens and there's not a lot of reds. It's pinks. So, like I said, all right, guys, I'm going to go find something to eat. Take pictures of this stuff and put it in mats and list it on Etsy. The brand name was... Ooh, something just got delivered. But it's not my day today. I think it's something boring got delivered. Zongii. Z-O-N-G-I-I. These are Zongii. And I was just trying to see where could you get the most number for the least price. I was just trying to find a fairly large set. I just Googled alcohol markers and started looking. I knew I wanted a set like the ones that everybody had. And a lot of people bought those Oahu, whatever y'all call them, and could use them in this way. This just gives you another way to use them. And pretty much everybody has rubbing alcohol at their house. It would make neat cards, I think. All right. I will see everybody at... Yeah, glossy paper. Yeah, the glossy card paper will work. It might get a little gummier than the Yupo would when you keep working with it, but it will work. I don't think I would use expensive, like I wouldn't use my Copics a lot like this. Well, people do though, because you can get such pretty colors in the Copics. All right, guys. I'll see y'all later.